Good evening, everyone. It is Steve Lookner with Right Side Broadcasting, coming to you with some breaking news. According to the Seattle Times, Boeing, the huge airplane manufacturer, has been attacked with the WannaCry Ransomware computer virus. This is a virus that shuts down, it locks out computers. It locks out users from their computers and their files until they pay a ransom. Now, the Seattle Times story, which we'll see in a second, described this as a very, very, very serious attack. However, Boeing has literally, in the last couple of minutes, just 5 minutes ago, released this statement: make of it what you will. Boeing says a number of articles on a malware disruption are overstated and inaccurate. Our Cybersecurity Operations Center detected a limited intrusion of malware that affected a small number of systems. Remediations were applied, and this is not a production or delivery issue. So that's what Boeing is saying. Boeing is downplaying it. That's just out from 5 minutes ago. But I want to show you that affected. I want to show you the other reports that came out. This certainly does not agree with the reports that we saw before about this. So let's look at the reports that came out earlier about this. So here is the story right now that the Seattle Times was going with. And as you see, this Seattle Times story makes the situation sound much more serious. Boeing hit by WannaCry virus, fears it can cripple some jet production. Now they say, Dominic Gates from Seattle Times says, Boeing was hit Wednesday by the WannaCry computer virus, raising fears within the company that it could cripple some vital airplane production equipment. Mike Vanderwell, chief engineer at Boeing Commercial Airplane Production Engineering, sent out an alarming memo calling for all hands on deck. It is metastasizing rapidly out of North Charleston, and I just heard 777 automated spar assembly tools may have gone down. That's what one of the chief engineers wrote, adding that he's concerned the virus will hit equipment used in functional test of airplanes ready to roll out and potentially spread to airline software. Indicating widespread alarm within the company at the potential impact, Vanderwell said the attack required a battery-like response, a reference to the 787 in-flight battery fires in 2013 that grounded the world's fleet of Dreamliners and led to an extraordinary 3-month-long engineering effort to find a fix. We are on a call with just about every VP in Boeing. So the virus exploits a flaw in Windows to gain access to a network, and it attacks a computer's software using ransomware. It locks out users of their computers until they pay a fee, sometimes in cryptocurrency or other type of ransom. The virus first surfaced in a May 2017 worldwide cyber attack. At the time, the Trump administration blamed North Korea for the attack. So could today's WannaCry attack on Boeing be could that have been done by North Korea? Could this affect the possible scheduled meeting between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un? We'll have to see. Now, after that attack last year, Microsoft issued patches to plug the vulnerability. However, older computers may not receive patches, and many businesses don't automatically update their systems, but wait to do updates in batches to make sure the upgrade doesn't affect other software. So this sounds quite serious. Now, of course, this article originally came out, it's 3:16 East Pacific. So this article only came out about an hour ago. And this article was making it sound very serious, and it had quotes from one of the chief engineers at Boeing, chief engineer at Boeing Commercial Airplane Production, talking about how alarming this was and talking about what an emergency it was. But Boeing just, 9 minutes ago, tweeted this out. A number of articles on a malware disruption are overstated and inaccurate. Our Cybersecurity Operations Center detected a limited intrusion of malware that affected a small number of systems. Remediations were applied, and this is not a production or delivery issue. Now, still some things left out of this, like, is it still spreading? How many computers did it hit? Is it under control yet? It says remediations were applied. It doesn't say that the virus was stopped from spreading. Might new computers be susceptible to getting the virus? I don't know, but that's a statement from Boeing. Boeing downplaying this. We'd love to hear from you if you have thoughts on this. Give me a shout on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. Let me see if I can find you any updates about this. that came out a little more recently. I'm just checking what's recently been posted. This is John Ostrower. John Ostrower he reports on aviation, it looks like, for CNN, Wall Street Journal, and he's worked for CNN, Wall Street Journal, and Flight Global, and he says it's more than a little worth noting that the Boeing statement and the internal Boeing memo from Chief Engineer Mike Vanderwell are tonally and factually completely divergent. I don't know if they're completely divergent. I feel like the internal memo talks about the danger that could happen. The internal memo, which was talked about in the Seattle Times article, he said things like it's metastasizing rapidly. Now that could have been happening, but maybe it's been slowed down. But it certainly seems in tone. The quotes from the memo of the chief engineer seem to be someone who's quite alarmed and very worried about this. And yet the Boeing post that they made seems calm and saying it's overstated and not worrying about it. So who's right here? See if I can find anything else for you. Now, TechCrunch had this up. I wonder if there's anything different in this article here from TechCrunch. It's probably similar. Yeah, this is just a bunch of quotes from the chief engineer's memo here at Boeing. They also say, although the attacks may have originated in North Korea, and Boeing is, of course, a major defense contractor, it would be premature to connect those dots at this moment. WannaCry was far from a targeted strike. It was indiscriminately reckless, as one U.S. official rather redundantly put it. WannaCry's initial flare-up may have been tamped down with the kill switch and subsequent patches, but clearly it was not eliminated altogether, though this may very well be a mutation or a modified version of the original software. So what TechCrunch is saying is it's hard to tell, was this targeted at Boeing? Was it targeted at somebody else and it spread to Boeing? Is this a remnant of the old WannaCry attack from last year? Is it some new version of the WannaCry ransomware? We don't know. So lots of questions here. We also don't know how serious it is because Seattle Times says one thing and quotes a chief engineer of Boeing as suggesting it's some sort of emergency, and yet the Boeing company says it's no big deal in their recent tweet they sent out. Hey, what do you think? Write to me on Twitter @Lookner. John Grofick says of the Boeing message, nothing to see here, folks. Move along. I think he's being sarcastic. This is an interesting tweet from Sean. Although, I don't, Russia's not the ones known for doing the WannaCry virus. That's North Korea. But Sean says, remember from yesterday that a Russian consulate in Seattle was ordered closed in what is near Seattle? Boeing. Coincidence? So Sean thinks this could be something done by Russia to punish the U.S. for closing the Russian consulate in Seattle. Interesting theory. Again, though, I have to say that the WannaCry virus itself has been associated with North Korea. The big attack last May, WannaCry, was attributed by many nations to North Korea, not to Russia. Who knows, though, Sean? Interesting thought. Interesting thought. If you have thoughts on this, give me a shout on Twitter @Lookner, @LOOKNER. Also, we are viewer supported here at Right Side Broadcasting. So if you like that we're covering this, I'm guessing you're seeing more coverage of this tonight here than on the mainstream media, which is probably dealing with Trump stuff as they always do all day and all night. If you like that we're doing this coverage, please consider donating to Right Side Broadcasting because we rely on you to stay on the air. If you want to donate, go to the bottom of the YouTube chat, click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. And thank you to JC for moderating in the YouTube chat, and Real Frank right now, and Common Sense and Gleno moderating on the website. So again, to sum up, in case you just joined the broadcast, Boeing has reportedly been hit by the WannaCry ransomware virus, which locks up computers and doesn't let people use them or access their files until they pay some sort of ransom. And an internal memo went out from the chief engineer at Boeing today, which had a lot of worrying things in it, like it's metastasizing rapidly out of North Charleston, and I just heard 777 automated spar assembly tools may have gone down. Also, concerns that it could spread to airline software. So he said, and the memo said, we're on a call with just about every VP in Boeing. So this memo seemed quite concerned about this WannaCry infection at Boeing. But Boeing just 10 minutes ago released this statement basically saying everything's fine, saying a number of articles on a malware disruption are overstated and inaccurate. It doesn't say how they're overstated and inaccurate, it just says they're overstated and inaccurate. Our Cybersecurity Operations Center detected a limited intrusion of malware that affected a small number of systems. Remediations were applied, and this is not a production or delivery issue. That's what Boeing says. I also want to see something here. I want to show you this. So a big WannaCry attack happened is this the big one? In 2017. If you want to read more about it, you can go to Wikipedia, WannaCry Ransomware attack. But this attack was in May 2017. And you can see in the second paragraph, the attack was estimated to have affected more than 200,000 computers across 150 countries, with total damages ranging from hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. Security experts believe from preliminary evaluation of the worm that the attack originated from North Korea or agencies working for the country, and the US, the UK, and Australia formally asserted that North Korea was behind the attack. This was the one last May. So could it be connected? Could this be another North Korean attack today? Could it be related to that last one? Could it be part of the old attack? Don't know. Don't know. But so we don't know how serious this is. Is it quite serious as this article in Seattle Times makes it and the chief engineer's memo made it sound, or is it not that serious as Boeing's tweet says? I will say this. On the one hand, companies certainly have a motivation to make things not sound so serious. On the other hand, if it did turn out that it was serious and this statement from Boeing was misleading, that's not a good look from Boeing. So, you'd like to think that if they're going to come out with a statement like this, they're not just covering for themselves, because it would look really bad if it was found out later that this was more serious and they were covering it up. So, but who knows? Maybe it was serious when the chief engineer sent out that memo, but they quickly got it under control. That could be the case. So we don't know exactly how many people are locked out of their computers at Boeing, what departments it's affecting, how under control is it? Is it still spreading? We don't know any of these things. Super Sorcerer says, this happened at Baltimore 911 over the weekend. Wonder what is going on. Who is testing this WannaCry computer virus? Now, was the Baltimore 911 a WannaCry or just a cyber attack? So here's an article on the Baltimore 911 system being hit. Atlanta got hit recently, too. Baltimore's 911 emergency system hit by cyber attack, and that was hacked this weekend and suffered temporary disruption. It was a limited breach. I haven't read that this was WannaCry, though. Oops, hang on. Autoplay video, got to stop it. Once again, autoplay video. Every site has autoplay video. Never stops. Don't give you an option to turn it off. Yeah, so this, I haven't heard that the 911 attack in Baltimore was a WannaCry attack. And also the attack in Atlanta, I haven't heard that that was a specific WannaCry attack. Atlanta's, a bunch of their municipal computers were hit, I believe last week, end of last week. So they could be all unrelated, or they might not be. Steve Bassett's another person who thinks there's a relation to the U.S. shutting down a Russian consulate in Seattle. He says, what a coincidence. USA just shut down a Russian consulate in Seattle. Hashtag Trump. See what else is out there, if there's any other updates on this. Here's a tweet I just retweeted from Sarah Kendzior. Hold on a second. Where is that coming from? Oh, it's the autoplay video. Another great thing about autoplay video on websites now is they take a while to start, so you can't stop them immediately. And sometimes if you stop them, they start again. It's really insidious. Sarah Kendzior says, this week's U.S. infrastructure attacks. Atlanta city services paralyzed due to ransomware attack. I don't believe that was WannaCry, however. Deadline for ransom is today. Boeing 911 dispatch system hacked. Baltimore 911 dispatch system hacked. And Boeing hit by serious virus metastasizing quickly. According to that internal memo, although their company says it's under, their company Twitter says it's under control at this point. See if I can get a little more information on that Atlanta attack. So here's an article from yesterday from the New York Times. Let's see. It was a ransomware attack. Software crippled victims' computers or networks and blocked access to important data until ransom is paid to unlock it. But it doesn't say it's WannaCry, so I don't think WannaCry is anywhere in this article. No, it is not. Hey, if you have comments, give me a shout on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. Cody Chitwood says, so what exactly does the WannaCry cyber attack consist of? What happens to the recipient? So you get some sort of message on your screen that says, we've locked you out of your computer and your files, and we're not going to let you use it again until you pay a certain ransom. And it tells you what the ransom is and where to send it to. And I believe it also gives you a deadline and says like it's going to destroy the files if you don't pay it by a certain date. So let me see if I can find a screenshot from like last year's attack. Yeah, so this is the WannaCry screenshot from last year. Hang on. So last year they had this WannaCry. Let me do it this way. Last year, if you got the WannaCry attack last year, you opened up your computer and it said, "Oops, your files have been encrypted." So you couldn't use your computer and you couldn't get your files. And if you wanted to open your computer back up and get your files, you had to send $300 worth of Bitcoin to a certain address. And you can see on the left there was a timer that goes down, and it says your files will be lost on. There you go. So the threat was if you don't pay the ransom, you can't use your computer, and eventually your files are all going to be lost. So that's what happens. That's what happened at least last May. I assumed something similar happened today, where people turned on their computers or went to their computers and got this sort of screen on their computer and couldn't use their computer. Ha! Misspelling. I didn't even... Look, it said attacked. It's wrong. There we go. There we go. Better. I've been better about spell checking these lately. Once in a while I go on and I forget to spell check and then that happens. So I have fixed the lower third. Thank you, Jake, for writing in. Let's see here. Aged Vanilla says, what is worse in your opinion, autoplay videos or the WannaCry virus? They are both really bad. Has Boeing tweeted out anything new yet? No, all we know from Boeing is this 25 minutes ago where they were saying it wasn't that serious. That's what they said 25 minutes ago. This site called Bleeping Computer, this Twitter account, which covers breaking technology news, they're trying to get somebody to send them a screenshot of today's WannaCry infection, but they don't seem to have one yet. They say highly strange that they would be infected with WannaCry in 2018. Now, as TechCrunch pointed out, though, this could be some new sort of, a modification of WannaCry or a new version of WannaCry. So that's really all we can tell you right now is there's this report from the Seattle Times that this is like an alarming infection and the chief engineer is quite worried about it. And there's this tweet from Boeing that says, well, it's not too bad. It's under control. We've taken care of it. So who can you believe? Who to believe on this? By the way, if you want to know when we're coming on the air with these live breaking news videos, subscribe to us and follow us on our different social media. On YouTube, we're at Right Side Broadcasting. Click the notifications bell when you subscribe. Facebook, Right Side Broadcasting. Twitter, at RSB Network. And Periscope, RSBN TV. All right, I'm just going to check one more time and see if there's any more. See if there's any more news on this. I'm not really seeing much new out there at the moment. I'm just trying to see if there's any updates. Just looking at some different things. Nope. We just have the two. We have the initial reports about how serious this is, and we have the Boeing tweet about it's not that serious. So that's all we know right now. Well, if I hear anything more tonight on this, I will certainly update it on my Twitter. At Lookner on Twitter is where to follow me for updates. At Lookner on Twitter. The Mouseketeer in Periscope chat says they didn't buy a full version of McAfee. Thank you for the donation, Oak1971. Oak1971 says Airbus hired Guccifer 2.0 to hack Boeing. Hey, I wonder about this. Is this a possibility? So some people are saying, hey, isn't it weird that WannaCry, which is this old virus from last year, affected them now? Is it also possible, here's a possibility, could someone have created a new ransomware and on the screen it just says, you've been affected with the WannaCry virus? That doesn't mean it's the same one. For all you know, whoever created this new ransomware just put on the lock screen, you've been infected with the WannaCry virus, and it's not the WannaCry virus, and this information that Boeing was being hit came from somewhere. Now the Seattle Times first had it, and they had a memo from the chief engineer at Boeing about this. But maybe the reports that Boeing got where people turned on their computers and saw this message, and it said WannaCry virus, and they said they reported we're getting hit with the WannaCry virus when it's not really the WannaCry virus. So we haven't had it confirmed. I mean, it's not. I don't believe that the Seattle Times has sat down with the code of the WannaCry virus affecting Boeing today and compared it with the code of last year's WannaCry virus. So one other possibility here is that, again, that the people who made this new ransomware had the lock screen come up programmed to call it the WannaCry virus when it's not really the WannaCry virus. So we just don't know. We do know that it's ransomware, I guess, of some sort, I guess, assuming that the ransomware works. But we can't confirm. I mean, all we know is that there's a report that it's WannaCry. But again, I don't believe any computer experts have actually examined the code yet and compared it to WannaCry. So there's another possibility. I don't know. Let's see here. Sarah Kenzior posted this a couple minutes ago. I want to show you this. This is quite interesting. So Sarah Kenzior posted this, and it says, alert, Denver's text to 911 function is currently experiencing an outage. Anyone in need of emergency services is asked to call 911. Now, I don't know if their text to 911 service is out. That sounds like it could just be a texting issue. Their 911 call service isn't out because you can call 911. So I don't know if this is having to do with any kind of cyber attack, because it's not the whole 911 system. It's just text to 911. But I'll let you know if I hear anything more. So let's see. I'm just looking to see if there's anything more up to date coming out right now. Give me 1 second. This is an interesting tweet from John Goodwin, a producer at CBS Sunday Morning, just tweeted out, Dave, can you ask them why my flight on a Boeing plane is delayed because I smell a cover-up? I think he might be joking because pretty much all the commercial planes out there are Boeing or Airbus. All right, well, it looks like for right now, I don't know if we're going to get any more information on this right now. We'll have to wait and see if other stuff comes out about this tonight. Boeing says it's not that serious after these stories that made it sound serious, but I assume we'll hear more, especially if it's serious. So, Brigetti in Periscope says, hello from Cape Town, South Africa. Wow, hello, Brigetti. So, again, we are Right Side Broadcasting. We've been covering the story where there is some sort of ransomware affecting Boeing computers tonight. Seattle Times says it's WannaCry, and TechCrunch does too. Multiple reports say it's WannaCry. But some of these articles make it sound the articles make it sound quite serious, possibly, but Boeing has tweeted out that everything's under control. So that's where things stand right now. So I'll keep an eye on this tonight and post on my Twitter if I hear anything up to date. At Lookner, you can follow me there. And if it's something huge, we will come back on the air and cover it. So be sure to subscribe and follow us on our social media. Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. On Twitter at RSB Network. On Periscope, RSBN TV. And Thank you to Oak for donating. We are viewer supported. So if you like our coverage, we hope you consider donating. Speaking of which, Greedy Ling made a donation, said, love the coverage as always. Very nice of you, Greedy Ling. That's what allows us to stay on the air, your donations. Thank you, Greedy Ling. And if you want to donate, you can do what Greedy Ling did. Go to the bottom of the YouTube chat room, click on the $sign at the bottom of the chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. You can even get free stuff like this right side mug by setting up a monthly donation at rsbn.tv/donate. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up this stream. I want to take a quick peek at the Facebook chat to see what's going on there before we wrap up. I always like to do that when I have time. Thank you for saying thank you. Guinevere's moderating too. Thank you, moderators. Guinevere, JC, Real Frank, thank you. And Common Sense and Gleno on the website. I Dan the Man, thanks. History B, thanks. Kirk Larson, thank you. Kathleen Laverso, thank you. Art Hilliker says, thank you for North Carolina. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Maureen O'Neill de Felice. Yes. Tina Johnson says, Atlanta is still scrambling. They have decided to rebuild computers. What a mess. Talking about the Atlanta cyber attack. I'm from Georgia, and it's going to screw up stuff for a while. DM made a donation and said, swamp trying to tank the stock market. DM, I've heard nothing about that being true, but thank you for donating. Appreciate it. Thank you, Penny Bowden from Louisiana. Thank you, DM. Yes, Kekistani, you missed the stream, but you can rewind it and go back and watch it on all of our platforms. If you're just joining us, rewind the stream. You'll hear all about the news story. Heard 1973, thank you. Dan Wolf, thank you. I, Dan the Man, thank you. All right, we're going to wrap up this stream right now. And again, I will post on my Twitter if I hear anything new. And if there's big news, breaking news tonight, we will, of course, come back on the air. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you on Periscope. Thank you, everybody on Periscope, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Appreciate you joining us. That's going to do it for right now. And I'm sure we will see you very soon with more news from all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting. Have a great night.